Thank you for joining us.
I'm beyond pumped. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, guys, if you don't know, Kelly and I go way back. We have been creator friends since the beginning. We both
Yeah.
started TikTok like, was it 21 or 22?
Summer
22.
2022 is at least when I
22.
got connected with you.
Yes, yeah. And we used to go live on TikTok together, and it was like this whole thing. And so I'm really excited to have you here because you have built this beautiful business and just so much knowledge and experience that you brought over from your past over to UGC. And you were doing UGC before it was even a thing, like
Yep.
before
I
before the
didn't even
name.
realize that's what I was doing, but I was doing UGC. I was like literally filming content of products, pitching brands through barters back in 2014.
Crazy. And that's, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that UGC is just like a mainstream term now, but it's always been a thing. So yeah, we're going to get into that. I feel like we have a good amount of people. We're probably going to have some people like funneling in, which is fine. But let's just go ahead and get started because I feel like we have a lot to cover. And I'm going to let you kind of take the floor. You said that you have a nice little presentation that you want to show us about what is creative strategy, because I think a lot of
Yes.
us have that same question. Um,
Yes,
so I'll let you take it from here.
absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and I will share my screen. So I just wanted to really quickly just go over some of the basics. That way then we can kind of have like a firm foundation of where to start when it comes to the Q&A. These are actually slides from our Intro to Creative Strategy video course that I will also be giving you guys a discount for. What defines a strategy? So, creative strategy, a plan that outlines how to use creative ideas and content to achieve marketing goals on digital platforms. So, in this case, it's leading creative strategy, whether you're a UGC creator or creative strategist. And the goal is to obviously create conversions for this brand. That's the only way they stay in business. Welcome to late stage capitalism, where we need to keep making these brands revenue. And the more we can do it, the more competitively we can charge because of the value we have offered to them. So, this is the blueprint in which a creative idea will be executed to, again, effectively reach and influence a target audience, aka target consumer. So, then what is a creative strategist? So, they are the main liaison for paid media and creative strategy. I like to think of it as the glue between the two. And when I say that, it's like I'm the creative strategist is the buffer between the creatives, that could be a video editor, graphic designer, UGC creator, etc., and then the paid media side. So the person that is actually launching those ads, leading the strategy, pouring ad spend into those creatives, etc. And so, as a creative strategist, and again, like if you're doing UGC, you're likely already operating as one and beginning to flex this muscle without even really realizing it. You know, things that you might already be doing, but a lot of which a creative strategist also does is researching market trends and consumer behaviors, developing insights from the data for future ad concepts, conceptualizing campaigns to form impactful ads, guiding execution to ensure creative output aligns with strategy, collaborating with paid media and creatives, and then evaluating campaign results for future improvements, whether it was good performance or bad performance. What I like to say is what separates a successful creative marketer from someone who is not successful is the willingness to be able to say, okay, this ad didn't work out. That's okay. How am I going to pivot from here and take these learnings that I did get and move forward? Ultimately, we're always learning. Not every ad is going to perform, just kind of the name of the game. And then this is like a really good visual breakdown of just like, so what's the difference between a UGC creator and like a creative strategist? Just because, again, as this UGC creator, like to be able to charge competitively, you are going to be flexing the creative strategist muscle because the more analytical you can be and more strategy driven, the better off the performance will be. Again, the more negotiation power you have down the line with this client. So UGC creator produces relatable and genuine content resonating with the target consumer. Their primary task is the content creation, and then the content from the UGC creator is valued for its authenticity, relatability, and then also outside of that, obviously being still DR driven, direct response driven. And then their influence is often direct and personal. So they are the face of the brand for that ad. Whereas creative strategists, we are planning and designing marketing strategies for campaigns behind the scenes. They're influencing the brand's marketing approach at a higher level. So leading that high level strategy, even though it is working within creative, you're also being equally analytical driven and data driven. And then again, we are the liaison between paid media and creatives, or what I like to say, the glue between the two. So that's kind of why your creative strategists in demand. Brands need them for data interpretation, efficiency of just like getting that performance feedback on a UGC video that was launched and being able to figure out next steps, whether it was good or bad performance. Creative innovation, what are we going to do next? This landscape is constantly changing. So it's like you got to keep your finger on the pulse, evaluating performance, and then also helping with like that overall creative diversity and consistency with like the amount of creatives that are being delivered on a weekly basis, while also being able to go into the nitty-gritty of what would be like audience insights. So becoming familiar with that target demographic, who's actually watching the ad, who is clicking on the ad or the link to go to a landing page. So that's kind of like a brief overview. That was everything I at least wanted to kind of just go over. Again, these are just select slides from the Intro to Creative Strategy video course, but hopefully that kind of gives, again, this firm foundation for us to start off, to then go into this Q&A.
I love it. I love it. That was really impressive, and we need to backtrack a little bit because how do you know all this? Tell us about your background and how you came to really understand all of these different, not only the lingo, but just like the differences in where businesses need us to be. And then we'll talk about
Ooh.
like how we can incorporate creative strategy and all of that as creators. But where did that come from for you?
Funny enough, I was always practicing these best practices without realizing they existed. Kind of similar to like I was doing UGC back in 2014, but I didn't know it was UGC. I just thought of it as, oh, well, I want to do video editing and I want to do videography. I'll shoot this content on my phone and I'll, pitch brands over DM and create this content for them that they can post on their socials.
Oh
And
my
like same applies for the strategy. So like I was operating as a creative strategist without ever knowing, dating back to 2017. And so it wasn't until 2020 that the term creative strategist started to float around the performance marketing space. And for me, it always made sense because I thought, well, if I'm a creative, I need to be able to offer value to a brand. And like, even though it might look pretty, that's not paying their bills. That is not growing their business. And I just always knew that marrying creative with the analytical thinking and being strategy driven, over time, it started to become so obvious that brands were really valuing this. And I would have conversations with founders, with executives, with, department leads. And I would talk about how my approach was, this very like holistic mindset that I had, where it was, we are going to create these like very nice looking creatives, but also just so you know, like there is a lot of strategy that's being poured into this. And so just like the more positive feedback I got from my clients, the more I started to realize that like ultimately, in order for the business to be successful, we have to be able to create high converting creatives. And so that was kind of just how it started. And obviously now there are terms for it. It's a lot more obvious. It's a lot more widely known. But again, dating back like 8+ years ago, I was already operating under this mindset because I knew that I could negotiate more, I could get paid more, I could make more by
Oh,
helping my clients make more.
wow. And you worked as a creative strategist, right? Like,
Yeah, so
can you name names, brands, and all of that?
yeah.
Maybe? Yeah.
So the first time I ever heard the title creative strategist was in 2020. And this is like wasn't just me hearing about it. It was like working internally for agencies up until that point. This was never a title. It was
Oh,
always like video editor, designer, producer, post-production manager, creative director, art director, etc. But in 2020, I got a creative strategist role it was a boutique agency. It was really small. I'm pretty sure they got sold off, but it was called Realize Digital. And they were like, their investors were like Paris Hilton and like the Revolve founders and like one of the first hires at Google. But so that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. And I remember
wow.
getting connected to the founder and I was like, well, I'm going to be honest. I've never had this title before, but I've been operating as one for the past like 3, 4 years. So I know I'm going to be able to knock this out of the park. work. And so since then, I have done creative strategy fractionally, working full time, working within these companies. So when I was at 310 Nutrition back in 2021, I started out as their creative director and then eventually became their director of creative strategy. That was like my first like, director title of like being a creative strategist, leading a department, leading that high level strategy.
Oh
And
my gosh.
then even though I was a creative director at another brand immediately after, they're small, they're called Metabolic Living. They were also acquired, but even though I was a creative director, I was like operating as a direct response driven one. So basically, creative strategist with a creative director role. And then
Okay.
since then, I've gone into fractional work. So August of 2023, I actually, along with the entire company, got laid off with no notice, no
I
severance.
remember that.
And what's crazy is it's because they were acquired by vulture capitalists. So, in the sense of like, we're going to strip this company up into parts and sell it. And so, I felt terrible, not because of my situation, but because of the predicament my coworkers found themselves in. They had mortgages, student loan debts, children, all the things that they no longer now had the, you know, opportunity to be able to continue remaining consistent with these payments because they were laid
Yeah.
off. Meanwhile, all through all of this, I always had my UGC side hustle while I was doing this. But funny enough, for me, I was actually planning to give my notice that Friday and we got laid off that Thursday. So I was kind
No.
of like, this is actually meant to be because
Very
as much as
serendipitous.
I was ready to leave, I just don't know if I would have like the guts to do it at the time. So I kind of saw it as like, all right, I'm just getting thrown
Oh.
out there. I'm okay with this. And so since then, I've been doing fractional creative strategy, and it's amazing because and just one last thing before I hand it back off to you is that as a creative director, I was in 2023, I was making a $160,000 salary with benefits. But the problem is I was being overworked. So I was working between 50 to 60 hours a week, and that was the expectation. Fast forward to when I left my full-time job after we were all laid off, I was doing fractional creative strategy part-time, was making over what I was making at my full-time job and was now only working 20 hours a week because my hourly rate and the opportunities I was able to secure with these brands and agencies.
That's incredible. Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
really
you. It,
exciting.
it all happened for the best.
And
Like
every
for
all
my
of these things.
situation, it all worked out. It was just like the perfect, just like kismet mashup of timing, preparation, and just like
Beautiful.
the universe just pushing me out there.
Yep, yep. They're like, it is time.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
what is fractional? Is that does that mean part-time? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I've just been marketing myself as either a fractional creative strategist in the sense of like I'm contract, I'm working, not full time for them. I'm working within the capacity that they need me. So oftentimes brands will work with me 10 to 20 hours a week. Um, Normally they don't do less than 10 hours just because of I've kind of figured out and mastered the way that I sell myself with my rates. So what I'll normally say is, at least at the time when I left my full-time job, it was, oh, well, my hourly rate is $150 an hour, but when you commit to 10 hours a week, it's discounted to 125. And fast forward to present day, and now it's my hourly rate is 175, but when you commit to 10 hours a week, it's 150. And
Nice.
so brands have just been like really loving that. And
Wow.
even though it is a lot of money in the sense of like you could get an employee for cheaper, my impact is so just undeniable from like a strategy perspective that they're kind of like, this is awesome. And also like when you have someone in a fractional role, you have less overhead in the sense of like, an employee
Benefits
that's
and
month to month with benefits too. So if they're making $100,000, tack on an extra 30% for all of the benefits that they're also getting. So brands are they're really happy with that like kind of situation I've laid out for them. And then other times I will also consult, which is more so like one off. So fractionals more so like reoccurring on a
oh,
weekly basis, 10 to 20 hours a week on average, versus if a brand wants me to consult for them, it's more so like short-lived in the sense of like, hey, we need you to come in and like we might ping you 6 months for now for some more support.
well, I love that term fractional because it sounds so nice. So I
Yeah,
may
right?
start using that too. I like it. It
Totally.
sounds really professional. And I mean, it is that. So you're basically working kind of on a retainer type
Mhm.
of deal, right? And so, okay, let's kind of break down in layman's terms, because you're doing the best of both worlds, right? Like you're in the back end, you're working on the actual strategy that creators will then use to create the actual creative.
Yep.
You're doing both. So you're doing UGC, you're
Yep.
doing the back end of it. What does that look like for you? Are you, when you get UGC work, are you pitching your creative strategy to those brands to try and get bigger UGC deals? Like, how does that look like for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think up until present day, I've kind of actually been keeping the two separate, only because
Oh.
when I have like a UGC opportunity come through, it's always worked out that I've already had like a contract that I'm focused on. 2023, 2024, I kind of was spreading myself thin and was doing a little too much of a like a bunch of different things in the sense of like, I have an agency client for 20 hours a week. I have another client for 10 hours a week. I have and then it's like then all of a sudden it felt like my brain was kind of being like I don't know, just like
Hard.
overworked. And I know
Yeah.
everyone's different, but just the way that my mind works right now is I've thrived most when I've been able to kind of keep it more specific. So I have my fractional creative strategy work with my one client, which is the first time since leaving my full-time job that I've actually said I'm just working with one brand. Kelly in 2023 would be scared in the sense of like nothing's ever guaranteed in the sense of like, this contract could end this Friday because they want to hire someone full-time, whatever it might be. Which has happened in the past where they're like, hey, Kelly, we want to bring you in full time. And I'm like, well, not really. I wouldn't want that, but I can help you guys hire this person, which will eventually be my replacement. But so, all that goes to say, like, it's just been working out really well, just being able to focus on one contract and then be specific about the UGC that I'm taking on. So I think if anything, when it comes to UGC opportunities, what helps me justify more competitive rates is because of my expertise in creative strategy. So when they're hiring me, they do know that I am a creative strategist, that I am a direct response video editor, that I have been in the industry for however many years, that I have UGC Pro where I've taught over 10,000 people how to do creative strategy in UGC with our free and paid resources. So I think
Wow.
that's more so the strategy I've approached it with
Yeah.
because then I'm able to negotiate, a higher rate because of it.
Amanda has a good question. As someone that hires UGC creators, what exactly do you look for in a portfolio or
Ooh.
creator that makes them the one?
Ooh, about me video, about me video. I want to see your personality. I want to see who you are. That is the thing that I'm looking for first before I ever look at any of your UGC examples. And the reason why is because it just gives you the opportunity to really just like lay out all the key details about yourself, your unique selling points, telling someone about who you are. Like, even if it's not related to marketing or create like being a UGC creator, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be sharing this information because even saying like, oh, before doing UGC, like I was a teacher, I was in accounting, I was a marine biologist, whatever it is, there could be a brand that's like, oh my God, we were looking for someone with X and Y certification or knowledge to be our like voice of reason and consideration of like expert in the field to be like talking about our product. But so the About Me video for me is like, it's your opportunity to really let your personality shine. And then once I watch that video, then that's kind of the determining factor of whether or not I will keep going through your portfolio. And the only reason why is not because, I don't care to look at it. It's just because I'm likely looking at 20 to 30 other portfolios and I only have, say, 30 minutes of time dedicated to be able to like actually figure out who I'm sourcing. So About Me video 100%. And then as you start to build your UGC business and experience, collect case studies. It can sometimes feel like pulling teeth when you're trying to get performance feedback from your clients,
I was going to ask you
but yeah, there
that.
is creative ways to be able to get it. And I think ultimately it comes down to just like the psychology of how you're talking to someone. And the goal is not to sound like I want this performance feedback for me, for my personal gain, for my portfolio. It's more so checking in 2, 3 weeks later after the ad's been launched and asking, hey, just wanted to see how the ad is doing. I was curious to know any creative related KPIs. That way, then I could help figure out next steps on like creative concepts we could go with from like an iteration perspective. So not only are you asking for these creative related KPIs, which which would be thumb stop rate, how scroll stopping is your video, view through rate, how long did the average, person watch your video to, and where was that drop off rate, click through rate, was your video strong enough to not only get someone to stop scrolling, but to go to the landing page. Your job is done from there. You got them to the landing page. What they do from there is out of our control in the sense of like it could be a shitty website. It could, have a bunch of walls in the customer journey that makes it hard for them to purchase. It could maybe manually require you to type in your credit card information, which is a literal like problem for a lot of brands where it's like if it requires me to go downstairs and get my purse at 12 o'clock at night, I'm not going to check out right now because of it. So anyways, all that goes to say is just being able to ask for those creative related KPIs and have yourself be positioned as like the value add, the solution, and you're also creatively basically upselling them on another collaboration. And the person on the other end is now like, wow, like they get it. They understand that this ad, just because it doesn't perform, like they are ready to apply next step strategy. And that point of contact is going to value that because, especially now, given like the economy and layoffs, these companies are not backfilling these roles. And so if there was a creative team of 10 and now there's 7, those 3 people that were laid off, their work is now being absorbed by those 7. So their bandwidth is very tight. So if they are outsourcing work to creators because they still have a budget, they are then going to look at you as this partner, this person that can support their team.
Oh my God. That's incredible insight. I'm like, I'm like literally, I'm taking notes and I'm like, wait, there's going to be a recorded. Um, I'm almost thinking that when a brand comes back to us as a repeat client, instead of just being like, hey, here's my offer, let's get working, we could say, hey, great. I would love to know how that ad performed. And that way I could come up with a better iteration
Yes.
so that
You don't
your
want to
next,
recreate the wheel.
yes,
Don't recreate
yes.
the wheel. If there's already been ad spend invested into it and like there are KPIs that you can get back and like if it's a low thumb stop rate, okay, how can we make the hook stronger? Oh wow, like everyone after the hook immediately dropped off. That's weird. Okay, so thumb stop was high, but view through rate was low. Maybe it's because the hook was a little too clickbaity so that when it actually got to the rest of the narrative of the script, it didn't make sense for the viewer. So there are like so many creative opportunities to not only upsell your client, but like as a service provider, which I feel like a lot of UGC coaches overlook this, like we are service providers. Like, yes, like we also deserve like a level of like respect and appreciation, but regardless, we are ultimately the service provider. So your goal is to make this service experience as seamless as possible and as value driven as possible.
That's huge. That's huge. And Lisa, this kind of goes right into what you're asking here, which is, could we assume that you're also in charge of writing the script and creating the entire ad versus accepting a pre-written gig? But what you just said, actually, not necessarily, because the script is just one part
Yep,
of the entire creative strategy. It's the, okay, let's analyze how this video did and make it better so that we can
yep,
have more results from that one ad. So you're really
exactly.
like a data analyst at
Yep.
the same time as a creative strategist to do better
Mhm.
for your clients so that they want to bring you on more and more and more. And like you said, as their partner, to really be
Yes.
like a creative partner.
You made a really good point too about being a data analyst because I think that's a big reason why creative strategy offers like this just like insane amount of return as far as like hourly rate. And like there are other strategists out there who are charging $200+ per hour. Granted, when you start, like I consider industry standard like the lowest, $50 an hour personally. But like even to be able to start out at $50 an hour as a creative strategist without a formal education, I didn't go to college. I'm a college dropout. I'm entirely self-taught. I have literally learned through real world experience and major trial and error. Thankfully, because of my experience and having to go through the freaking ringer, like all the time from basically the start of my career till just a few years ago, I've been able to help like our students avoid these, common roadblocks, help expedite their learning curve. And like, thankfully, that is now the case. But like, regardless, being able to start out at $50 an hour as a beginner is incredible without a college degree. Like
That's
I
amazing.
have friends who have gone for, even after their masters and they're working like in the hospital and they're making $40 an hour and they're still paying off their student loan debt. So it's an incredible opportunity that is just like because of the like creative paired with analytical thinking, it just gives you this opportunity for just making wild amounts of money like without needing a formal education.
I love that. I love that. Ashley asks a good point. At what point in our journey is doing something like this really needed? I mean, I'm gonna just answer and then you
Please.
give me your expertise in
Yeah.
that. But like, if you feel confident in talking to brands in this capacity, go for it. Like, where's the limitation there of when to
Oh,
start or what not
yeah.
to? Yeah.
1000%. I agree. It's like one of those things where you're already flexing this muscle. If you're coming up with concept ideas, writing your scripts, also video editing, they're like post-production creative strategy, like how you're editing your video. That's also how I initially fell into the agency space was I was a direct response video editor back in like 2017, 2018. And it's one of those things where like you're already flexing this muscle, so don't feel like you have to wait until you feel like you're ready or feel like you have to get to a certain point. You could start small. You could start upselling your past clients on a script package. I could, do the recon, brand market analysis. I could do the scripting for 10 scripts for X amount of dollars. And like that's you now offering a creative strategy package and you're doing something you already feel comfortable doing. Because like being a full-blown creative strategist, like there is so much more than just coming up with concept ideas and writing scripts. Like I'm meeting with our retention marketing team and figuring out SMS and email strategy. I'm meeting with the founders on a regular basis, learning that like, okay, we're at like X amount of net profit every day. How are we now going to reach it this number or whatever it is? It's like there is so much more than meets the eye, but you're not expected to start all the way at the finish line. Like you can start small.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think this is something that we can just put in our arsenal when we are talking to these brands. And that's something we always talk about, especially in the Discord. It's the ongoing conversation. How do we get the data? How do we get the data? Because brands don't want to give it, right? Like brands
Right?
don't want to give that information. Like, so
Yep.
what, you can charge me more, but to frame it like that is so beautiful. And then that allows you, would you say that by incorporating these tactics that you're going to increase the per, I guess, order amount for your UGC work? Is that really the goal here, is just to kind of every time like upsell one more, and then eventually get retainer? Would you say that's like the
Yes,
goal?
100%. And this is something that I was doing unconsciously that I was getting really good at, where I was able to build long-standing relationships with specifically three brands dating back from 2020 to 2024. And like these contracts, the only reason why I got like, this reoccurring week on a weekly and monthly basis is because I started off with that one-off project and I made sure to under promise and over deliver, blow expectations out of the water, and then creatively upsell like the examples I gave before.
Amazing. Jen is asking, what tools are you using to track performance?
Ooh, so for my client, they use Motion. So if you look up motionapp.com, this is a industry standard tool for being able to have your clients connect their back end of Meta to. And that is like a very visual translation of what actually is being like done on the Meta side. Just because if you were to go in on the back end of Meta, it's not made for creatives. I'm like a
No.
very visual person. I like colors.
Oh,
I
Meta's
like
backend is
numbers.
horrible.
I want the simplified numbers. I want the main takeaways. So Motion is my favorite. This isn't something that you are able to sign up for yourself because you need to connect like the actual Facebook account that the ads are being run on. But a good question to ask when you are talking about creative strategy is, oh, do you use any of the platforms like Motion? I would love to be able to like get a report on like even your top performers before I even start doing my first project with you because I don't want to recreate the wheel. They've already invested hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars into ad spend. Like, why bother recreating the wheel when you can get tried and true information that you can then take and create your own version of?
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And Barbara, I completely agree. Barbara says Kelly has everything you need to start this in her creative strategy course, but her UGC course
Oh,
is a
thank
great place to
you.
start too.
But I was gonna say, I actually want to go in and I want to make the code more because I'm realizing I think the like pop up on our site is 30%. So I do want to
Oh.
change that to more than 30%.
Oh my God, yay. And if you guys have questions about it specifically, Kelly, do you want to really quick just drop the link in the chat here so they can kind of look at that really quick and then we're going to continue talking. If you guys want to just check that out and then ask any questions that you are interested in about it and whatnot. But she's been doing this now for what, 3 years alongside with me, 4 years, not alongside, but at the same time that we're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's definitely has her community and her experience and really successful students as well. This is incredible. I never even thought about framing it this way. So, what would a newer creator? So, Amanda was saying, like in her portfolio, the about me, you can, like you said, come from the where you're an expert in, if you were a teacher, if you were, whatever field you were in. And then what would like a newbie do to get the eyes of a creative strategist from a brand or even an agency? And I want to ask you about agencies too here in just a minute.
When you think of your portfolio, I would say your About Me video is going to be like your biggest opportunity to wow someone because if you haven't yet worked with like a brand or if you've only maybe worked with a few, that doesn't matter if your About Me video reflects best practices. If you show up and you are relatable, your personality shines, your video editing reflects best practices, like even like a hook and a CTA at the end, listing out your unique selling points. I like to tell my students, you want to market yourself the same way you would your clients. Your knowledge is going to shine through all of this.
Yeah.
Um, Outside of portfolio, actually, before I move past portfolio, when you start out, obviously you're not going to have case studies, and that's okay. Even asking for 5-star reviews is like social proof in and of itself. Obviously, case studies can like be a proof of concept of, oh wow, like they offer a return on investment. So like this creator could be really valuable to work with. But even a 5-star review, like that at least shows that, you're professional, you have clients that were happy with their experience, etc. And then as a new UGC creator, honestly, I would just recommend putting yourself out there like on Fiverr, on Coley. Like your goal right now is to ramp up as much work experience as possible because not only are you going to have more work for your portfolio, but you're also getting connected to these brands who your point of contact might be at one company right now. They could very well be at a different company like 6 months from now. Marketing is one of the highest churns out of any industry. And it's wonderful because that is literally how I've built my business. I don't do cold outreach anymore. I don't apply for opportunities. I have referrals from clients I've worked with years ago that are still so happy with my work that they connect me to their colleagues or they're now working at a different company and they want to work with me. So I would say just like getting as much experience as possible. And, everyone is going to have their own opinions, but right now, consider yourself like a student of the craft. And if you're looking to get as much experience, take barters, take deals that, 6 months down the line, you wouldn't even consider. But your goal right now is really to just get experience, build your connections, and also strengthen those skill sets.
Ugh, I freaking love that because I feel like so many coaches in this space are like, ugh, the apps are bad. And I'm like, yeah, but as a creator, like you're all the heavy lifting is taken care of by
Exactly.
the platform. Like get the experience, do the work. Like I tell them all the time, I tell my students, burn out, get burnt out. Like that is how you're
Exactly.
gonna springboard to the next stage in your business. So that is incredible advice. And then taking this advice that we're learning right now, which is you're a new creator, you have them coming back. Make sure to frame that question in a way so you can get those case studies and build up your portfolio. And this is actually a great question because your About Me video, Lisa's asking, believe it or not, I don't even have a portfolio. I'm okay with that for right now. I'm starting to not like that idea so much. I want to create mine. But a lot of times I see just a picture, a headshot, and a little bit of text. Would you suggest for specifically trying to attract these creative strategists, these people who are literally looking for creators to hire, to have like an intro about me video right at the top? Or where does that look like to you? What does that look like to you?
I would say it's at the top of your portfolio just because I really like when I'm going to a portfolio, that is what I'm looking at. And that is going to be the determining factor of whether I keep scrolling through your portfolio or not. I feel like
Wow.
it's like just like this, it's your elevator pitch, it's your log line, it's, it's your hook essentially. Like, can your About Me video pique my interest to the point where like I do want to learn more about you?
I love that. And that's really, you guys, I feel like that's your gig intro on Fiverr. And that's
Ooh,
also
yeah.
your Billow pitch video, right? Like you could even start with that one video and then just put it on each of those platforms to start. And then over time, obviously refine it and make it better, add some case studies, that kind of thing. That's incredible. How does Kelly feel about example UGC ads? Some coaches say not to do that.
Oh, I say do practice example videos 1000%. That was the advice when like UGC went mainstream summer 2022. Guess what I was doing back in 2014? I literally, no one told me. Again, this was just like my logic. Okay, if I want to do content creation, if I want to do video editing, if I want to do videography, how do I get clients? I need a portfolio. Okay, but how do I work with a client without a portfolio? Oh, I should make example work with products that I have at home. Like that is literally what I did 11 years ago. Oh, like almost 12 years ago. And it still stands true because it's like you're not telling them you worked with them. This is your portfolio. This is your
Right.
example work.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they ask you, like, you can tell them you didn't, but you just did this example video. But like, I've never been asked whether I actually worked with a brand or not. Like, no one's going to ask that. So
No.
you definitely do want to do example videos because that's how you're going to start securing opportunities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know we're kind of veering a little bit off of creative strategy, but we do want to know what is your take, Sarah's asking, on posting videos without asking permission from the brand to like showcase your work on X and, Instagram and stuff.
So, what's funny is I don't want it to be formal advice, but I'll tell you what I've done. I've always just shared it because if it's live, it's now public, it's now being shown to thousands of people. Like, I share it. I don't think you should share it before it goes live, but I've also done that. But I would say to just be in the clear, post it after the fact, and then I oftentimes don't tag the brand just because I'm like, I don't want it to be on their radar necessarily because I don't know if
Yep,
it's an issue. But like, yeah, I share it.
I do
Some
too.
people require it in their contracts just to make sure that they're able to. Like, oh, like I want to be able to use this for my portfolio. For me, like, especially as someone that's hired over 1,000 creators for like well over 100 brands, I had never been in a situation where it was like, you can't share this, like you cannot post this, you know? So
Yeah.
I think it's more so just like I'm so lax to it because I've been on the brand side.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think, and also like if you add something different, like the text that says UGC example, or you introduce it, now it's not duplicate content because you're switching it up. But okay,
Exactly.
let's come back to creative strategy and let's talk about from the agency perspective. What is your take on working with agencies from the like working with them and then also from the UGC creator side now that you've done both. But like what is
Yeah.
your take on agencies?
I think it was after 2020 that agencies really started to pop up more and more just because anyone can start an agency. And I feel like a lot of agencies, or just like the term agency, gets a negative connotation, which is interesting because I come from an extensive agency background. But these aren't just agencies run by some like random person. I've worked full time for some of the most well-respected agencies in the country. I came from Mute Six, which like that, like how people are like, oh, I'm ex Facebook, I'm ex Twitter, I'm whatever, I'm ex whatever. Like when someone hears like, oh my God, you're ex Mute Six, like it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like it's just like it's a very well respected agency. I've worked with W Promote, I've worked with Tube Science, I've also worked with boutique agencies that were not just some random one. Like I said, like Paris Hilton and like the Revolve founders were like investors. There is, I think, this like awkward gray area that's been formed where like now because so many people are starting agencies and don't have even the basic understanding of how you should treat people, how you should pay people, the going rates, these things, like all of a sudden they have this power that they really should not have and are now creating this like awful, like negative connotation for the term agency. So I'd say just beware in the sense of do your due diligence as a UGC creator or creative strategist when you are talking to them either for contract work or even full-time work, just because, this could be someone that truly has no business being in the business that could end up, really making your experience not that great. Yeah, again, like coming from like working with all these like well-respected agencies, it's like when people started talking more and more about agencies in 2022, I was like, wait, this is so weird. Why is everyone saying this about agencies? And it's like they're not like a legitimate agency. Oftentimes, it's like people who don't come from a creative background and treat creatives like hired help and are just really disrespectful. And it's
Uh-oh.
like, it's just one of those
Okay.
things where it's like it takes zero effort and it costs nothing to just be a decent human being and like not burn bridges.
Right.
But unfortunately, because, creating an agency is so accessible, we do have people that really have no business being in the business.
Wow. Okay. That's incredible. And you said two things that I had to write it down so that I wouldn't forget, but you were saying something about like the going rate. Can we talk a
Yes.
little bit about that and what
Yeah.
that means from both sides of the coin? What
Oh,
is right
yeah.
now for 2025 Q4, what do you think is the going rate for and packages and things like that and how you're crafting them and then also
Yep.
selling them? It's funny talking about like both sides. Like we want to hear from both of your
Yes.
perspectives.
It's funny because it's like perspectives on UGC and creative strategy, being on the contractor side and being internally. Yeah, I mean, I really have like this, like, yeah, this full view.
Yeah.
So I will tell you how I hire, and then I will tell you what I'm charging, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I have never felt comfortable hiring someone for less than $200 for a project. Just because for me, it's like when I'm working with my clients, like I know what budget they're working with. And for me, it's like, yeah, I could go out and I could find whatever creators at whatever rates, but I'm also looking for creators that have a level of expertise that are, at this rate. When I'm working with my clients, I would say the average is between like $300 and $500. And so for this, it often is I provide the script, they film it, and then our team will edit it. And it's under the agreement that we will also utilize this footage to test other versions. And it's for no other reason than Meta is unbelievably competitive in 2025. It is so much more competitive than what it was even 2 years ago. And so when we think of a brand that is investing money into the project, it's not even just what we paid the creator. It's if we paid a creator $300 plus we invested for the learning phase, say like $500 to $1,000 on the creative. What if that ad gets turned off because it wasn't profitable? All of a sudden, the brand is out $1,500 plus dollars. Now we have the opportunity, at least, to take those creative related KPIs and pivot based on those learnings to try to see if we not only make our money back, but also make money from it. So that's kind of like the deal that we've been going with. And like, I know that there have has been a lot of conversation about how, nowadays, like everyone's asking for raw footage. It's not fair, or why are they doing this? Like they're just trying to take advantage. And it's like, honestly, like there are people out there that are doing it for the wrong reasons, but then the majority of brands out there are simply just trying to get a creative that will not just hit for like a week, but also scale and offer like opportunity for revenue growth. And then it's like when that ad does well, who's the face in it? Okay, cool. We should rehire them. So that's kind of the approach that I've had with hiring UGC creators. When I'm hiring creative strategists for like my clients, I'm normally going about the like, the bottom rate of $50, and then we'll normally pay up to $100 per hour. I normally wouldn't pay more just because it's like they have me for that reason. So it's kind of like who can be my support system versus who's gonna like take over my work. It's like I don't need that. I just need support.
Mhm.
And then when we think of like, if you were ever to be like an internal content creator or strategist, like especially with just like inflation and the cost of living, like you shouldn't be accepting anything less than $70,000. Like in my opinion, anything less than 70,
Mhm.
like truly, like you really shouldn't. Because also likely you're going to be working 40 plus hours a week. I'm trying to think. And then as far as like what I've been charging, I have gone the more conservative route. Like there are creators out there that are charging way more, but I don't know, there's just something about like with how competitive the landscape is that I have just like wanted to figure out a number that is like wonderful for me. Like payout is great, but then is also offering room for like opportunity in the future, even if that ad doesn't do well. For my deals, because it is like quote unquote discounted rate, I don't offer the raw footage typically, but normally it's going to be one concept that I write the script for, film and edit it. And then we'll offer 3 iterations. And for those 3 creatives, I want to say I'm charging. Okay, so one off is 750, 3 concepts are 675 a piece, and then 6 concepts are $600 a piece. Because it's obviously still a higher rate. The reason why I feel like I'm able to negotiate these rates is because I have my like reoccurring income through my creative strategy client, which is also really nice because if you're trying to do UGC and you're just like barely getting by, to be able to get a client where you're doing either like a package deal for scripting or doing 10 hours a week with a client, you now all of a sudden have this opportunity to be making, let's see, if you were doing 10 hours a week at 50, that's 500 times 4, that's $2,000 a month. So you're making $2,000 a month guaranteed. Then all of a sudden you don't have to build your UGC business in scarcity and also like have to deal with like, super low rates that you wouldn't normally accept.
I love that. I love that. And I also think because of your experience and you highlight that, right, in your personal branding and
Oh
your
yeah.
in your portfolio, like you're highlighting that so they know that they're working with not only an experienced creator based on time, but the knowledge that you have of what makes a good ad. And that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
why Kelly is here right now because we talked about a lot and I could see your guys' faces. You're like, "Oh my God, wait, this is a lot of information." And the reason why why we're brought Kelly on is because this is the next level of your creator business is turning just one-off video projects into flexing that like I could offer you more as a creative partner than
Yeah.
just me on camera.
You just reminded me about the question where you'd said, well, if you have a UGC client, like, do you ever upsell on creative strategy? But it dawned on me, I did do it in the earlier stages. So in 2020, what I would do is I would start out in one role. I'm pretty sure most of them actually started out as video editing. And then I would upsell them on creative strategy support over time. And then I would upsell them on UGC strategically over time, just adding more and more value. I just did a podcast episode on it. We're on all major streaming platforms. If you just look up UGC Pro, it'll show up. It should be the most recent one. It's just talking about like how to actually become like that creative partner for brands. And like, yeah, you can totally do that. I don't do it anymore, but like literally that is how you can all of a sudden begin upselling.
I love that. Okay, I have like 2 more questions because this is so good.
Oh, you're
And I know
fine.
we're coming up on time. Do you have a particular like I call it a storyboard template. Do you have a particular format that you like to create these concepts for brands like a Google Doc? Is it something super simple? Are you using ChatGPT to create the scripts? What does that look like for you?
So funny enough, I do very, very like simple. I just pull it up in a Google Doc. And if I'm doing a script for another creator, what I'll do is I'll do the script and then I'll do a B-roll shot list versus like, this is scene 1, this is scene 2, like
Oh.
audio visual kind of table. I think as long as you're taking into account like the script itself, the shots you're going to take, and then also like the headline hook, the baked in text, and then the CTA, I think that's really like all that matters. So how you choose to organize it, honestly, just do whatever makes the most sense in your head. I have tried doing ways that I was just like, you try to do something different, it just doesn't jive with your brain. And I'm like, all of a sudden I can't even write this script. So just do whatever feels most natural. And then, yes, I use ChatGPT religiously, strategically. So for me, what I'm doing is I will, get transcriptions of top performing ads, and I will then ask for it to find, trends that are like taking place amongst all these scripts. Hey, here are 5 top performing ads. Can you make a hybrid version? I never take it for what it is. I'll then like workshop it myself, but it's a great starting place. Talking about AI, I feel like it's a really important thing to partner with because it's not coming for your jobs. What is going to happen though is because AI makes you more efficient And especially if you're, an hourly contractor like myself, your client wants you to be more efficient. They want you to be more effective. And so by using the AI tools, not toys, and I say that because there are a lot of AI toys out there that are kind of like, ooh, they're so shiny. I want to try it. And it's like, does it actually add value to your workflow? No, like focus on the things that actually work. But yeah, I definitely use ChatGPT to just like make sure that one, like I'm not just thinking in my own like echo chamber, and then two, just to like help me be the most efficient as possible. But I definitely don't take what they provide literally. Like I will workshop it.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And I love that you're so transparent about it because I feel like in this space, we're all like, no, 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 we write it ourselves. And it's like, come on. We ain't got time for
Yeah,
that. We ain't got time for that.
exactly.
They want the creative quickly. So let's talk really quick packages. So you were saying, like, as you were saying that, I was like, oh my God, that is so smart because you're saying the script, you're having the shot list, the on-screen text, and that is really when the brand is looking for the raw footage.
Yes.
And a lot of times they give that to us, right? So if we like one of those formats, just make a template and now use that again for your future
Yep.
work. If you like that format, you said from a brand perspective, they are really looking for the raw footage, and we're kind of learning more about that. Are you familiar or like have you seen this become more and more common where you're getting raw footage from a creator where it's just the B-roll, all those 5-second B-roll shot list, or the clean footage where there's no text, there's no captions, there's no background music? Are you seeing a
Both.
difference in that? Like which one is the brand really looking for? The raw footage of just those 5 to 10 second
Ooh.
clips or the cleaned up edited version
Well,
or both?
so the cleaned up edited version, I think of it as like our initial test. And then from there, based on how that ad performs, then we can go back to the drawing board. And it's like, for that B-roll that we have, or even for the script read that they provided, well, okay, if we were to start maybe 15 seconds in when they say this, maybe this will be a better hook than the original one that we thought. Or like, oh, we should, switch up this B-roll shot for this one to see if it's more scroll stopping. So I'd say the edited version is like that initial test. And then from there, then we have the opportunity to, okay, if this one didn't hit, how do we get it to hit? And that's us going back to the drawing board with those assets.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Awesome. I'm sorry. I have a ton of questions for you
No,
too.
you're totally fine. I
Um,
also don't mind if we go over. You're totally fine.
okay. Okay. Because this is so good. And I feel like you have the expertise in all of this. So it's really exciting to get both perspectives. Inbounds. So, like, now let's talk more UGC. And then I want to talk about what your program offers and everything. So,
Yeah.
inbounds, you're mainly getting inbounds, so you get that from referrals, word of mouth, because you've been in the industry for so long. Are you relying mainly on X, LinkedIn?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, since 2021, I have not done any cold outreach. I haven't like applied to jobs or anything of that nature. It's all through either again like previous clients who are now working at a different company that want to rehire me, that referred me to someone else. So like through referrals or just like, yeah, a previous client now working somewhere else and wanting to hire me. Outside of that though, for inbounds, I have really doubled down on LinkedIn over the years, and it's honestly so overlooked in my opinion. And it's not even a matter of being like a thought leader on there. I only just started posting on LinkedIn like a year ago. But for me, I made sure my profile was reflecting SEO keywords for discoverability. So for my like creative strategy contracts, all the opportunities come from inbounds. And it's because they found me on LinkedIn by looking up creative strategist, consultant, fractional creative strategist, like all the keywords. So, yeah, if you're looking for creative strategy opportunities and you're not on LinkedIn, highly, highly, highly recommend that you do. If you're already on LinkedIn, don't recreate another LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't like that. Obviously, if you're working full time for an employer and you don't feel comfortable with them seeing this, that's kind of like a gray area. You know better than I do. But you do only want to have one profile, and you want to make sure that it reflects the services and expertise that you offer and have.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm just now learning about LinkedIn and I'm like, okay, I feel like this is an untapped because I'm also scared of LinkedIn. Like back when I did marketing, like I don't know, a million years ago, and they had me
Yep.
go to all these networking events and I have like 500 contacts over there and I'm just like, I don't know who any of these people are. It freaks me out. They're all,
Yep.
it's like a totally different field, but that's a great advice to just use that one, optimize it. That's really, really good. Okay. What are we going to learn with your program? Because you have two,
Ooh.
right? So let's break down what we have.
Yeah, so we actually have three video courses. We have our UGC University, which is it's 9 hours long. It's very extensive. It's me and my fiance Shane, and combined we have 20 plus years of experience in the creative marketing space. So that's why it's so long, is because it's like truly the way that I've described it as it's perfect for newbies, but then it's also perfect for an advanced creator in the sense of you are going to walk away with gold nuggets that you weren't even like aware of at the time, regardless of your experience. Then we have our Intro to Creative Strategy video course. So when I'm saying these, this is the recommended order. Intro to Creative Strategy is 4 hours. It's a crash course. There was a lot more guardrails. Like I went into it being like, I want to make this as concise as possible. We'll probably do that to the UGC University one day and maybe do like a director's cut that's like more extended. Just because I know like 9 hours is kind of long, but you could listen to it like a podcast episode. Not really, but you could have it playing in the background. But for Intro to Creative Strategy, it goes over the basics and then all the way through to basically giving you all the information that you need to know to start doing creative strategy work. If you take everything you've learned, also not just learning, I treat these courses the same way that my learning style is. And so we actually have like real life exercises of like clients that I obviously change their names, but like I'll show the KPIs. Okay, this was performance feedback on an ad. This is the problem. What is your suggested next step? And then after you come up with your answer, then on the next slide, then I give my suggestion of what I would have said. So you're learning in real time, you're flexing that muscle in real time. It's only 4 hours long, and we have had dozens of students who they took the course and within that same year have built very successful creative strategy businesses. One of them, her name is Sam. She is formerly a masseuse. She did UGC. I think she made like 55K the year before, and then she doubled down on creative strategy after taking our intro course. And within 12 months, she more than doubled her business, making over $150,000, working less than full time. So it's absolutely incredible. She's a mom of two. She lives in, I want to say, Ohio, like had no former marketing experience. So it just goes to show like I can meet you halfway in the sense that like I can give you everything you need to know and to do, but it's like, what are you going to do with it now? And then after our intro to creative strategy class, we did a master class. So our paid media X creative strategy master class is led by myself and one of my longtime colleagues and friends, Lamise Barnett. She has an MBA. She is the former head of marketing at Mute 6. She has taken, I think it was like $400 million in ad spend and generated over $4 billion for her clients. And so it's really cool because this masterclass is me leading creative strategy in the modules and then her leading paid media in her modules. It's not teaching you how to be a paid media manager, but it's showing the how they interconnect and also how you go about these relations. So those are the three. If you go to ugc.pro, that's our website, use Creator 45 for 45% off for all three of those courses. And then outside of that, we do have the UGC Pro community that we do weekly Q&A sessions, and the people who find the most value in this are either people that are already in the thick of creative strategy and need support on a weekly basis. Like we have students who are like, hey, like my client asked for this, like how should I respond? Or like, hey, like this is the problem we're experiencing. What would you do? And so like I'm able to give them real-time support. So then they're able to then go back to the work they're doing and know what to do, which is something that I really wish I had when I started my career because I didn't have anyone to help me. I didn't have anyone to ask questions or to guide me. And then the other people who benefit from this community as well are those that are looking to flex the creative strategy muscle because we're actually now starting to roll out creative strategy opportunities where it's just work for experience. So like we have like a Slack channel and we'll send out like a brief and it's like, work on this brief. We're now having those students do creator sourcing. It's unpaid, but the return on it is you get to say in your LinkedIn that you've worked with UGC Pro as a creative strategist. You also get to list the clients that you've worked on. And then you also will get me as a referral and reference for future opportunities if you ever have a hiring manager that needs that.
Woo! Oh my God. Okay, so you have three levels. I'm gonna
Yeah.
break it down. We have three levels. That first one is UGC Basics. Amanda was already like, I love that one. That one's amazing. And then we have the intro to creative strategy. And the question was like, how is that really going to help us with our UGC business? And not necessarily if we want to be
Ooh.
UGC, we don't necessarily want to be creative strategists
Ooh.
only, but we
Yes.
want to incorporate that into our UGC business.
That I'm so glad you brought this up because I totally forgot about like the whole like importance of this is it's like even if you're not going to do creative strategy, intro to creative strategy is single-handedly the catalyst for why creators have been able to charge significantly more because you are equally analytical as you are creative. So definitely intro. Don't worry about the masterclass. Masterclass is really just for those that are like, I want to take my next step as a creative strategist. And they are,
Okay.
they're already doing it and they're like, how do I get to Kelly's rate kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. So the intro to creative strategy is really how you're going to incorporate creative strategy to be that creative partner for
Yes.
brands as a creator. Okay. I
Yep.
love that. I love that. And so the creator 45 for 45% off that expires.
I don't have an expiration. I wanted to actually leave it
Shh, don't
open for
say that.
anyone
Don't
that's
say
for anyone that's
that.
watching.
Okay.
Just because I know that this is going to be archived, so I just wanted to do that. 45% off those three video courses.
Awesome. Okay. I'm really excited because that was really amazing. And this is something that, like I said, we do have a lot of newer creators, but I don't want you guys to feel like this is something completely out of your realm. This is benchmarking. This is where you want to get to. Like we just talked about, that is going to allow you to charge more, get those clients coming back, add more data to your portfolio, and really make you shine like an experienced creator, which is where the real money comes in. So, like yesterday, we had our group call, and Jonathan said it perfectly. He called it sweatshop rates, where where these brands, they're just lowballing us for 60
Yep.
bucks, and we're working our asses off, and
Yep.
we're just like doing all these things, and that's really the next level. And I'm really excited that we talked about this because now I'm getting some ideas on how we can actually incorporate that to Fiverr. So Jen is asking again, what does that look like for a Fiverr gig? Now that Fiverr just switched up their packages, I think that this would be like the premium package where you're adding in creative strategy to help them come up
Ooh.
with the concept, get that
Oh
data.
yeah, their bandwidth is likely tight, so if you're offering the opportunity for it to be fully outsourced, like you're making their day.
Right, right, exactly. And that's just something that we could really add. As far as creative strategy itself on Fiverr, I would think that that would be more in the marketing side of like I think there's a paid media category, but that would not
Yeah.
be in the UGC category. That would be a completely different category. It would be either like digital marketing or paid media. And I'll look into it after this call to get outsourced. Have you heard of people on Fiverr getting hired for creative strategy?
Not personally, but I have gone to Fiverr for like experts. Like we have our Kajabi community, and I'm looking, to source someone from there. So I would say it probably doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Did you say only creative strategist to start with? For you guys, either the first one, which is UGC University, which by the way, I love your branding. I love
Oh, thank you. It's all Shane. Shane is incredible. He is the best.
so good, so good. And then the second one, which is intro to creative strategy. I think you guys could benefit from both, honestly. Why not? Amanda said she loved it too, so let's talk about it. Oh, and then so Kelly has agreed to be a guest coach into Creator 5, and so I'm going to send her the invite after this call. Whatever questions you guys have about specifically what we talked about today, some follow-up questions, questions about her offers, you can ask inside of Creator 5 and she'll provide all that information. All right, awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. This was incredibly invaluable. This was so amazing. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I will see you guys in the Discord and I'll see you there too.
Thank you.
Bye.